Yeah, like better than we expected. I guess you got to be built like him to be able to sustain a fall the way he did. So obviously, we're preparing for the worst, and the fact that he's on court and getting shots up and taking a day today. But much better than what we original thoughts were. So that's always good signs.
Can you just talk us through what the injury was or what the concerns are there and when you expect to be back?
Yeah, no, it was back complaint mainly. It was a bit of bruising that extended down from his lower back into his glute, and so when we did the MRI, it lit up in a sense of like that's where the bruising was. The good thing is there's no bone injury, there's no substantial injury, cleared concussion. All those things were tick, tick, tick. It's just a matter now of managing that swelling and that bruising and seeing how it pulls up in the next 48 hours.
And Taran is expected to play on Friday?
Yeah, he's progressed along nicely, so I don't want to jinx it because every time I say something, something happens. So, no, he's been fantastic, and the biggest challenge is to sort of make sure we taper him back a little bit because he wants to go 100%. But no, he's checking the boxes and very hopeful.
Obviously, you've kept the relationship going with Tad, and if there's any, I know you've got DPs and you've got a lot of options, but is he training with the squad, or what's the future looking like for him? Is he just getting the runs there? Is there a possibility to even play as an injury replacement?
He's helping us out. We're sort of beaten up at the moment with our road schedule. There's been a lot of kilometres, and there's nothing major. It's just a lot of guys we're trying to manage who played some high-end minutes. So the ability to have someone such a high calibre player like Tad who's available to come down and work out. So we're allowed to go 5 and 5 because otherwise, we're pushing guys unnecessarily when, we want to make sure they're 100% for a road double. There's no point trying to make them go up and down on a Tuesday. So no, Tad's been great he answered the call and he's available to come in and fill in and appreciate his time.
Obviously,
you go.
Yeah, a couple of games for your road trip. We never talk about the assistant coaches, but they're like helping you out so much. From Gruggs, Kerry, Will. Gruggs, I saw on the weekend. He's on it with the scouts. He's calling plays and all that. How valuable is it to have an assistant like him on board?
Huge, and it's. I mean, I'm a hard taskmaster because I had one as well. So I came up through as an assistant coach to Trev Gleeson, and the expectation to be on top of things and know. Excuse me, and know all the particular play calls after timeouts and defensive structures and schemes, and you don't want to lay this unnecessarily on the players. There's only so much you want to do during film review, but in the moment during the game, to be able to jump up from the sideline and direct and give out clear instructions of what's happening and executing. Gruggs has nailed a couple of end of game plays too, and Kez is the same. So they're fantastic. They make my job easier, and even not just from the basketball X's and O's side of things, but also the day-to-day logistics, organising the road travel and who goes in what car and making sure, training availability at away venues is accessible to us. And it makes my job so much more easier, and I can direct my attention on other things knowing that they've got it down pat, exactly what they need to do from their standpoint.
What are your focus areas for, the games against New Zealand and Melbourne coming up?
Yeah, New Zealand got it at the start of the season, and their personnel's changed a little bit. They've suffered some injuries similar to us with some key personnel, and so, with William McDowell-White back in the lineup for them, we didn't play him last time. And obviously with how effective Park has been, especially just scoring, more than anything else, we've got to make sure we do a great job against their backcourt. It'll be a similar story when we play South East. There's a little bit of transference in the sense of Cummings, Ben Eyre and Gary Brown being an effective backcourt. But, as we always say, it's not just a 1 or 2 man task. We want to make sure defensively we're 5 on the ball and everybody's engaged. And, our biggest Achilles heel at the moment is the rebounding. And so we played 2 of the toughest offensive rebounding teams in the league last weekend. I thought our improvement and our level of effort was fantastic. I want to carry that on moving forward. We set the bar, we don't want to drop below it. So, a lot of that to be the key focus, and hopefully the ball goes through the net, and that'd be great.
Is that somewhere where Josh Roberts can sort of thrive in and find a role on his team, is rebounding and earn some more minutes?
Yeah, hopefully, for sure. That was one of the key indicators why we brought him in, was to bring the energy and get some rebounds and get some stops on the defensive end.
I guess can you talk about the importance of having that win over the Sydney Kings at home after suffering, the loss to the Hawks? How important that is moving forward and being the road once again?
Yeah, I mean, it was a massive crowd, and this is one thing I've always said is, we want to reward the local fan base who've been so supportive through good times and the bad times. And so I think we're just a couple of hundred under sellout, and to be able to do that against such a quality lineup, a quality team in Sydney, but also from a personal standpoint, we weren't happy with the game we played against Illawarra, and it was always a tricky situation where sometimes it's nice to have a week where you can really be brutal in film review and then pick the guys back up. But we had a quick turnaround, so we couldn't disguise what needed to be fixed. Guys took the critical feedback very well, and they responded, and that's all I can ask for.
Is it still being just as critical? You mentioned about rebounds and free throws and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I said in the presser, sometimes winning can disguise flaws. If you pretend that everything's all sunshines and rainbows, suddenly you get a rude awakening. So we still need to fix the areas that we need to improve on. And even for me, I reflect, this is the third year in a row that I have an underperforming offense. And so I change out the personnel, and then you got to sit back and go, okay, what am I doing wrong? Because we're top 2 again in defense, which is helping us stay in the game and get some wins. We're top 2 in the defense last year. The reality is our offense is fluttering a little bit. Now that'll be picked up when Taj and Taryn come back into the lineup. But we don't want to just rely on Bull and Pat and Sam to score baskets. So some areas we need to fix from the coaching standpoint too. Because again, if you pretend it doesn't exist, you're gonna end up on the wrong end of a result.
Has that got anything to do with the limited experience in terms of NBL games for the boys?
The offense?
Yeah.
Potentially, but I reflected on myself where last year, as well as we did, we still had a very underachieving offense. And so, there's a particular game system and game model that we do here. Maybe I need to be a little bit more flexible in some of the areas that I feel like we need to attack in, because maybe I'm not getting the results that I think should be there. So at what point do you pivot and go in a different direction? So I'm not willing to throw the baby out with the bathwater just yet, but it's something I'm conscious of.
And just confirming, Taj will be back for Friday night's game?
Yeah, he'll meet us in New Zealand, so I don't know what type of condition he's going to be in now that he's a new dad. He might just sleep 20 hours straight to make up for the sleep debt, who knows, but no, we're all excited to have Taj back and get him back in the lineup, and he's come at a great time.
How's Bul Kuol up after turning out the first Ironman effort of the season?
He's impossible to clear. He's still shooting now. You try and taper him back, and he can't help himself. So the reality is I'd never sub him out if he didn't get in foul trouble. So the fact that he kept his hands out and was able to play an entire game, and not skip a beat of practice, it's just credit to him, because he's so active in his recovery and doing all the 1%ers. He's always on the foam roller, he's always in recovery labs, he's always making sure he eats right and sleeps well, and he's the ultimate pro. And so the fact that he can still go and we're so dependent on him speaks volumes.
Just on Pat, I know we started with Pat, but what was it like for you to see Augie, him at the end of half time, after sustaining the fall, the tackle, that kind of stuff, and out there trying to prove his fitness?
Say again?
He was out there trying to prove his fitness and going through some tests at half time.
Oh yeah, I knew.
Yeah.
This is. I mean, Pat wants to train and play now, and we're trying to hold him back. But he's the ultimate competitor. He's a warrior, and that's what we brought him in for. We knew, especially Taj knew him and spoke highly about his character and the type of person that he was going to be in this group. So it was no surprise in the sense that that's what he was doing, but it's still quite refreshing to know that your import, I think Eric Spoelstra said it best too, where, if your best players don't want to play defense, you're not going to be a very good defensive team. And for all the things that Pat's doing so well on the offensive end, I think we don't acknowledge how well he is defensively too. So, he's a warrior on and off the court and both ends, and I'm hopeful. I hope we can get him back, and then to have him and Taryn and Taj and Bull on the court at the same time I'm excited about that. I don't know how the rest of the league will be, but that's a cool prospect.
When he was out, did it show how much of an MVP candidate he really is? I know
If he didn't go down, he leads the league in scoring and assists and free throws. So if we're doing well and he's leading categories in points and assists, and we're somewhere in playoff contention, how can you deny him at least the first team if not MVP?
Gives us a lot of energy back, a defensive two-way player, so yeah, veteran leadership, so Taj brings a lot.
Only Bryce Cotton really plays 40 minutes a game. I know you really stepped up with guards out and you sort of running the offense. Is this more? Are we going to see more of this to come in the future potentially from you?
My main focus is always my defense. I feel like for me that's the best I can bring to the team, and that's how I can lead on this team. So I'll just continue to focus on my defensive energy and whatever else Forde asks. Yeah.
In the Hawks game, you said that your defence, quote, was terrible.
Yeah.
How did you find it coming against the Kings, and are you expecting that to continue leading into the New Zealand game on Friday?
Yeah. For the rest of the season, it's my number one goal is to always bring that defensive focus. Yeah.
Do you think as a team you guys have worked hard on that, and why do you think that you can win against New Zealand despite losing a couple of weeks back to them in the same court?
I mean, we continuously getting better. We put a lot of work on practice, so hopefully it shows against them that we've improved.
At the end there, obviously you have 3 of the main assistants shooting around with you. Everyone's talking a bit of like nice banter and stuff. How valuable is it having those from Gruggs, from Carey, from Will, and those guys working out with you over the off season, they're every day with you? How valuable have you found them over the off season and this season?
I've been with them. This is my 3rd season with them now, so we've gotten really close, and it's guys that have been around for a while, so that's easy. Yeah, they mean a lot to me. Yeah.
Forde spoke a lot about improving on the rebounds. Is that something you guys as a team have been working on, and how so?
Just having more of an intention to go get the rebounds. A lot of times we'll have a good defensive possession and then we'll be out of position. It's effort play. So it's just putting a lot more attention in that. Yeah.
What was your review like of Saturday? I imagine during that you guys have already had your review session. So what did you make of your own performance there and across that 40 minutes?
I mean, it's always room to improve. And so across 40 minutes, that's a lot of room to make errors. And so just looking at those and how can I improve. Sometimes you have bad possessions and a bit disorganized. And so just trying to tighten those a little bit more.
I guess you're probably a little bit forced into it with Pat going down, but adding that extra string to your bow and being able to showcase that at NBL level, like the playmaking, which you've done a bit over the last few years, but being in that situation where you've shown it, how does that add to, I guess, the evolution of you as a basketballer at this level?
I try to be as versatile as I can be, and so whatever Forde asks of me is I try to, do my job. And for me, defense is always number one. So as long as I'm doing that everything else kind of flows into it. So as long as my defense is up to par, everything else will kind of usually work out.
Forde said he'd play you 40 minutes every game if you weren't always in foul trouble.
Yeah.
Did you get your hands out more? Or?
Yeah. I mean, I try my best, It's not like I'm trying to foul out there. It's just my style of play, there's trade-offs. And so I got fortunate in the last game that I wasn't in particular positions to foul. But yeah, it's just the way I play. My style of play is you're going to get fouls. Yeah.